Welcome to the Supreme Love Project, where you learn to love supremely so you can live supremely. This is a Power Hour. This is the place where you can get the information you need to heal the terrors in your soul and launch a revolution in your life. Get ready. Take notes. Now, here's your host, Janine Staples.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Supreme Love Project. This is Janine. You are tuned in to the Cold Crush teleseminar, and we have another fantastic, powerful guest to talk to us about what we need to do to crush the cold around our souls, to melt some of the tundra that we have built up that guards us against intimacy, closeness, with ourselves and with other people. I have, oh, sister, help me, is it Avalaura?
You got it.
I did it! It's Avalaura Gaither Beharry. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. I love that. Crush the hole in your soul.
Yes, yes, yes. Crush that cold. So I wanted to say a little bit about Avalaura.
Yes, ma'am.
She is a healer. She is an expert in holistic health. She's got a beautiful location, a physical location where she can see clients and guests in Gaithersburg, Maryland in the United States. I have to make sure that we're explicit about that because we have women tuning in from 9 different countries. She's got a fantastic website. It's spiritualsage.net. And Avalaura, please tell us a little bit more about you. What is your story and what are you bringing to the table for us today?
Sure. I'm an intuitive consultant and life coach. And actually my center is here. It's in College Park, Maryland, in the D.C. metro area. And I have to say that because a lot of times when you say Maryland, people think Baltimore. So I'm actually in the D.C. area. And, you know, a little bit about me. I actually got my bachelor's degree in psychology and my master's degree in social work from Howard University. And I was one of those people. I was definitely an overachiever. I call myself a recovering perfectionist, very determined. And when I went to school, I went on mission. I knew that I always wanted to help people. I knew that counseling was a big part of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to serve and help people in the world. And, you know, through a series of different events, I actually found myself entering into the social work field. And I got my master's degree in social work. And when I got out, you know, I actually got a pretty good job, particularly coming right out of social work. I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic. And I found myself in this space of, you know, I've worked so hard. I'm so excited. You know, just kind of this, overachiever, kind of naive, you know, energy that I'm going to save the world and I'm going to heal everybody. And, you know, that was sort of my view, just very optimistic. And what happened was I found myself in this system and in the social work field and working with clients and finding myself not really helping people the way that I wanted to.
Yeah.
I found myself, instead of helping people to heal, instead of helping them to grow and transform their lives for the better, that I was simply helping them to maintain their dysfunction.
Wow.
And that was not okay with me. That was not what I had signed up for. And I started feeling kind of miserable and depressed and trapped. Like, okay, I worked so hard to get to this space. This is not what I signed up for. So what am I supposed to do now? You know, this doesn't look the way that I thought it was going to look. And, you know, that went on for a while until I got to the point, much like many of my clients who come to me, where I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. And I knew that I couldn't stay in that space. I knew that I was playing small. I was playing Clark Kent instead of being Superman. And I wasn't making the impact in the world that I really wanted to. I just felt stuck in this space of knowing that I had these gifts inside of me, but I wasn't giving birth to them. Nobody was really seeing them. And in order for me to be fulfilled and live the life that I wanted to live, I had to play a bigger part in the world. I had to make a bigger impact. It was not optional for me. It was mandatory. And so what happened was I ended up, I found myself trying to get back to doing things that I loved because I was feeling very stuck and very stagnant. And I ended up going on this retreat, on this women's retreat, this weekend retreat, and I got back to doing all the things that I love, the soulful self-care practices that I talk a lot about. I was, meditating again, doing yoga, praying, and I found myself in this space of, I don't know if you ever found this space, but where you just literally break down, where you just have this emotional moment. And I just started crying out to God and praying and saying, God, you have to get me out of this. Like, I can't live like this anymore. This is not working for me. And if you don't get me out of this, I'm going to find myself as as one of the patients in the mental health clinic. Like, this is not going to work.
Right.
And, essentially what ended up happening is I went back to work on Monday morning. And my boss calls me into his office, and he fires me.
Wow.
Just like that.
Okay.
And I had no idea what I was going to do. I had never been fired from a job ever in my life. I was shocked. Ego was crushed, was angry. And essentially what happened for me is, as soon as ego kind of, calmed down a bit, Spirit took over and said, Avalaura, what are you complaining about? What are you upset about? This is your answered prayer. This is what you asked for.
Wow.
And so what is the choice? What are you going to do now? Where are you going to go now? And I could have gone and gotten another job very easily, as a social worker. It's not hard at all. But I decided that I was going to open up Avalaura's Healing Center. And so I took 6 months and I did the work that, I tell my clients to do. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What do I want to do with my life? And how do I make this happen? And I did that work, and 6 months later I opened up Avalaura's Healing Center, where I have been serving people much like me, mission-driven individuals who want to do big work in the world. They want to make an impact, but for whatever reasons, they're doing it unfulfilled, and that could come in their business, it could come in their careers, in their relationships, or even in themselves personally. But finding out what that unfulfillment is and then giving birth to that so that they truly can make an impact and be the person that they know that they've always been called to be, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. Right. So I've been doing that now for 11 years, and it has been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Wow. Avalaura, listen, that story just resonated with me on so many levels. I'm really right now bracing myself to figure out how to jump in here. I know I am. That's what's happening with me right now. There are hundreds of women who are tuning in to listen to us, perhaps even thousands who are tuning in to listen to us, and there are bells going off. Ding, 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 ding. There are so many of us who have come to a space in life, regardless of your developmental stage, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, there are women in the Supreme Love Project who range from their 20s through their 70s. And that audience span has taught me that the constituency that is women, regardless of your socioeconomic background, regardless of your age, regardless often of your racial and ethnic breakdown, we share something in common, and that is a confrontation eventually with an emotional break, an emotional or a mental break. And it might look a little bit different for some of us. It may come up and be triggered because of different circumstances. However, it's almost invariably bound to happen. It happens so often because so many of us are taught to perform our womanhood instead of actualizing and embodying it, organically generating it on our own terms in an authentic way. We just manufacture it according to what other people dictate or prescribe or mandate in order for us to have relationships, get a career going, obtain property, even facilitate platonic friendships with women and men. We just make ourselves like a patchwork of pieces. We We take what our dad said. We take what our mom said. We take what our best friend says. We take what our professors say. Maybe what your boss says. You take maybe what your children say and they ascribe and mandate to you. And it gets built and manufactured in such a way that at some point you don't know who you are.
Yep.
You don't know who you are. You don't recognize yourself. You can't name yourself. You don't even have a language to bless and anoint yourself. You don't even know what that means. And when that happens and that awareness sinks in, a blessing happens that corresponds with that awareness. Simultaneously, it's where life will give you a knock. Like you got fired, you had a meltdown, you reached a wall, you hit a bottom, and that space afforded you, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, oh my God, that is a scary space. But when it happens, it's an opportunity. It's like saying, I'm taking these things away, I'm breaking these parts off of you so that you can make a new choice. And that's what you did. Yeah.
That's it. And it's exactly what you said. It's a choice. Yeah. And I think that so many of us don't see it that way. We see it as a problem. We see it as a curse. We see it as, oh, woe is me. Why is this happening to me?
Sure.
But it really is a choice. And I tell my clients all the time that, look, when you ask for change, be ready for what that means.
Be ready. Yeah.
Be ready for what that looks like and understand that it's not going to look the way that you think it should or the way that you want it to. It's not about you staying in your comfort zones. It is about offering you another opportunity, another choice, which is going to force you to tap inside of yourself and dig deep and discover a new you.
Yeah, and that brings us to your work and my work. That brings us to Avalaura's Healing Center. It brings us to the Supreme Project. It brings us to now. A lot of people know my story. I have a blog post called My Terror in 10 Years and how I experienced relational and social terror that took me to my knees in my romantic relationships, in my familial relationships, in my filial or platonic relationships with friends. I had a span of 10 years where I experienced so much crashing down of my sensibilities, so much relational and social terrors. I dated 2 narcissistic men. I lost a best friend. I got extradited from my social circles. I buried my father, buried my sister, buried my godfather, buried my godmother, buried both grandparents. I mean, I went through 10 years of so much trauma that it's only by the grace of God that I came out of it. Now, there are many, many spiritual practices that span out of my Christianity that helped me to heal, and there are also Buddhist principles that helped me to tap in and to heal. And what I notice about your work, Avalaura, especially Avalaura's Healing Center at spiritualsage.net, is you have this really powerful holistic set of practices that you offer, and I'd like to just have a conversation about what those are. And what you can take 2 or 3 from your list, and tell us about them and how valuable they are. And I just want to say as a caveat before you start, there are many people in the Supreme Love Project who are Christians like me. I profess Christ and I adore him. And there are others who are Buddhists. There are some who are atheists. There are some who are agnostics. There are some who are Catholics. I mean, we have a really broad mix of people in our community, and I advocate radical inclusion and radical acceptance. And I think that it's so powerful to speak to experts like you, Avalaura, who are able to tie some of these practices together so that we can see that they're not actually usually confronting each other or conflicting with one another. That's sort of my view. But I'd like to hear more from you about a couple of the practices that we can learn more about.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And, you know, one of the reasons that I found myself trapped as a social worker is because I could not practice these things. There was a set system of what I had to do. And one of the things that I've always understood, I've always been a very spiritual being. And I'm not even saying that in a religious sense, but just understanding that, you know, having a relationship with God, understanding that spirituality is so important, that that grounding force, whatever that means or whatever that looks like for you. But I always understood that if I truly wanted to help people to heal, if I really wanted to help them to change, if I wanted to help them embrace the life that they've always wanted to live, I had to get in touch with their spirits. I had to speak to their souls. So a big part of my work has always been that. And you know, and like I said, I have clients that are every religion under the sun, have practiced everything, are spiritual but not religious. They've been Catholic, they've been Buddhist, they've been Muslim. They've gone through the, you know, the gamut. And and so it's always been about just touching the people that I work with on a very spiritual level. And so a lot of the practices that I utilize, that's what they do. That is the intention. It is the intention to disrupt their natural patterns, whatever that means, and create their natural pattern, get them back in touch with who they truly are. Because a lot of what society does is disrupt our patterns from who we really are as a person. And so we have to do all of this work now to find ourselves again because we've lost ourselves.
Sure.
So that's a lot of the work that I do. So, for instance, I would say Reiki is a very common practice. A lot of the things that I do with my clients, Reiki. I also do other types of energy work, chakra balancing, cord cutting. And this is really all about, again, kind of working with my clients on a very energetic level, tapping into their natural energy and removing the energy that is not natural for them, that is disruptive for them, that is bringing obstacles, and get them back in tune with their natural energy. And Reiki is a form of what I call hands-on healing. So for people who are not familiar with it, if you're familiar with acupuncture, where you use needles to work with somebody's energy to help with stress and all kinds of, you know, different things. I mean, it really runs the gamut. That's the beautiful thing about holistic practices is that they help on every level, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. But if you're familiar with acupuncture using the needles, and in Reiki, instead of using needles, I'm actually using my hands. And so it's literally hands-on healing. And one of my clients, the best description, I love it, she calls it a spiritual massage.
Nice. Yeah.
So Reiki is a very common practice that I utilize, and that can be done here in my office in College Park, Maryland, and I also do a distance. I have amazing distance clients, and, you know, for some people, they can't wrap their head around, like, you can do that wherever I am. It's energy. I'm literally tapping into the core of who you are, so you don't have to be here to do that. I am working with your energy. So Reiki is a big one. I also teach a lot of meditation now. That has, you know, it's interesting. This year has been the year that most of my speaking engagements have been around teaching soulful self-care and meditation. So that has been a big part of my year. And I also have a meditation audio download and workbook that I finally had to create because I had so many people, once I would teach it, okay, well, how do I now practice it and do this on a daily basis? This was so awesome. I want to keep going. So meditation is one of those things that I teach my clients, whether you're coming to me for life coaching, whether you're coming to me for energy healing, whether you're coming to me for spiritual healing. It is a practice that every single person can utilize. Everybody. I don't care if you're doing it for 5 minutes every day. Everybody can meditate. And the common barrier that I find is that most people don't know how to meditate. They know that it's good for them. It's something that they've tried. They know that they want to do it. They've done, you know, Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey and all of that, but they don't know how to meditate because nobody taught them the dynamics of it. They simply said, oh, just pop this in and meditate. But it doesn't work that way. You need to know how to breathe, how to sit, right? You know, all of these dynamics so that you can have the best experience so your mind isn't taking over. And a lot of people feel like they can't meditate because they don't know how to work with their thoughts in their mind because nobody taught them how to breathe correctly. Very simple things. So meditation is huge. And then definitely life coaching is, you know, because my background is in counseling, you know, a lot of my coaching does sometimes tend to be a combination of coaching and counseling. I think it's the best of both worlds because they both need each other. I don't think that they're a complete whole without the other. So, because I have a lot of people who come to me for life coaching, and they need counseling. But the coaching tools are so important, and so it's both being able to go back and simultaneously go forward as well. So, life coaching has been a tremendous part of the work that I do in helping clients to really figure out what are your clear next steps. What is it that you want to create in your life? What is your vision? Do you have clarity? Because I find a lot of people don't even have clarity. They don't even know what they want. So how can you get what you want out of life if you can't even speak it? You don't even have a name for it. So a big part of it is getting that clarity. And then once we have that clarity, okay, here is a step-by-step plan of action that you can follow to get that with the focus, with the discipline, with the accountability and the guidance. Because we all need guidance along the way. You know, so many, I would say probably right now 85% of my clients are women, and so many of us, we don't ask for help. You know, we try to do everything on our own. We think that we're supposed to be superwoman, and if we can't do it on our own, then that means I can't do it. But the real truth about it is, and this is, you know, the real truth is that if you really want to do something great in the world, you absolutely need help. You cannot do it on your own. And nobody who has done anything great in the world has done it on their own.
That's right.
So if you look at, you know, I love Oprah, you know, like I said, she's my mentor, auntie, friend in my head. You know, I look at her, she has a whole team. You know, we really need a team. And so this whole notion of I'm supposed to do it all by myself because my mama did it, my grandmama did it, my auntie did it, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. So understanding that we absolutely need help, and sometimes that looks like getting professional help. That looks like going outside of my circle because my friends are in the same space that I'm in, or they're enablers. They're not going to tell me the truth. They want to see me stuck because they want to stay stuck. You know, so many things that we're dealing with. So understanding that a lot of times you're going to have to go outside of your circle. You're going to have to do something radical, something very different to really live the way that you want in the world, because so many people around you aren't doing that.
Yeah. I don't want to go too far away from what you're talking about because I want to hear more about the gifts of meditation, but I really just need to pause and say more about what you just described, Avalaura, because everything is possible. Okay, I just want to start there. Everything is possible. So for the women who are listening in right now, if you feel like you're so far gone, and that you just don't know how you're going to turn your life around. You don't know how you're going to develop a new system of beliefs. You don't know how you're going to raise your energetic vibration so that you can draw in healthy partners, romantic or platonic or professional. And you just feel like, these women, they don't know my story, or they don't know what I've done or what I've been through or what I'm dealing with. Maybe we don't. However, I would bet money that we would both say it's not too late for you. If you're listening, it's not too late for you. If you're here, it's not too late for you. And all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. And the caveat that is important for us to say, and for me to echo, what I'm doing right now is I'm echoing Avalaura. Your shift and change will cause disruption.
Absolutely.
Your shift and change, yes, will cause disruption. Absolutely, it's supposed to. And the disruption won't feel good. You know, sometimes I hear some people saying, like, about me, I'm sort of, you know, building the Supreme Love Project. We're growing and growing and growing and growing. And you're like, Rosie, sometimes you're a real downer. And I don't mean to be. You know, I really don't mean to be, and I don't want to be. What I'm trying to do in my work is prepare women for the reality of evolution and revolution. If you want to heal the terror in your soul and launch a revolution in your life, you are going to cause shifts to happen. Yeah. And when shifts happen, the foundation moves, walls shake, Windows break and bust open, doors swing open, some swing shut. You're going to have to shift and change some of your circle. Your relationships are going to change. Your family and friends may look at you kind of quizzically like, who are you? I'm used to you being depressed. I'm used to you feeling anxious. I'm used to you being directionless, not knowing what to do. There are going to be stops and starts to this thing of healing that terror, developing new language, getting rid of old energies, resolving old agreements. That will cause disruption in your life. And I'm saying that because I don't want anyone to come into this space with us to embark on this journey and not be fully aware, because I think that would be a disservice, and also not be fully prepared as much as you possibly can be for disruptions in your life. And to echo what Avalaura just said, it's not going to feel good all the time. You do need a community, and it is possible. You need a team, and it is possible.
Yep. Yeah, I tell people all the time that, one of the things that I say is it takes a village to raise a dream.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
And it was, so one of the things that has been tremendous, big part of my success in building my tribe is social media. And, so I post, every day, particularly on Facebook. And, I remember I shared this post, I try to be very transparent. I'm very authentic. I'm very much who I am. And, sometimes you have to pick and choose how much you share. But I just remember that I shared that, look, this journey has not been easy. Even when you know who you are. A lot of us get stuck in, who am I? Why am I here? I want to know my purpose. And that is so important, and I help my clients with that. But then once you know your purpose, living it is a completely different thing.
It is.
That is not easy. We think the hard part is trying to understand who we are and knowing who we are. The hard part is living it day to day when you have so many forces to the contrary.
That's right. That's right.
And, I remember I shared that, it's been a difficult journey for me even this last 11 years, being an entrepreneur, even though it's one of the best decisions that I ever made. I would never change it. It has been difficult. And I've had moments, and I was, talking about my father who, my parents are first generation college. Both of them, my father has a master's degree now. My mom is a lawyer. But they were very, you get your job, you get your education, you have a family, you work your 30 years, and you retire. That's how they saw the world. So for their firstborn child to decide, oh, no, I'm going to buck the system. I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm going to live my dreams, and I'm going to do the work that I was called to do. What? How do you do that? And all of this uncertainty and, everything that goes along with that. And in one of my darkest moments when I, and I questioned, like, should I get a job? Should I go back? What should I do? When my father, who, said to me, he just sent me a very simple email that said, follow your dreams.
Wow.
And I broke down and I cried.
I can see
and I wrote this post about that, and I said, it takes a village to raise a dream. You need people around you that even if they don't understand what you're doing, they believe in you. They push you forward. They tell you to keep going when you want to give up on yourself. They believe in you when you can't believe in yourself. We all need that. We need hugs. We need laughter. We need I love yous. We need all of that and then some. And if you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult for you to have the courage and the energy and the fortitude and the determination to keep going when you do hit that wall, when you do get stuck, when you feel like this is not going to work. I'm having so many obstacles. How can this possibly happen for me?
Right. Yeah. That tribe that you build as you go is so necessary. Thank you so much for echoing that back once again, so that the women who are listening can really get a picture of what it looks like. Each of us have a different sort of team around us. And here's the other thing that I want to acknowledge about what you're saying. Be open to your team looking maybe differently than you envisioned. Just be ready for that. It could very well be the case that your brother, whom you've been close to your whole life, might need to take a point of departure from you, just a little, and provide a different type of support as a team member than you might anticipate. If y'all have been bound at the hip from childhood through adulthood, and in the space where you're going to, he can't go, it's important to acknowledge that and not try to force that. I want to say that also, Avalaura, because I'm thinking of what you said on your website about cord cutting. We talked about Reiki, which is really, really powerful and important. We talked about meditation, and sort of getting an understanding of how it gets done, and there are multiple ways it gets done. We talked about Reiki as spiritual massage. I really want to talk about cord cutting, because if we're going to talk about tribes, and a village to raise that dream, and your dream, for most of the people who are calling in, it's not about building a business, it's about building the self. There are many people in the Supreme Love Project who have been broken down by relational and social terrors, whether you've been involved with a person who suffered from narcissistic personality disorder or sociopathy, a sociopathology, or you've suffered microaggressions that are racialized or sexualized, if you've suffered from macroaggressions that are racialized or sexualized or gendered in a particular way, you've got a lot of trauma in your body and in your soul. And if you want to possess your own soul and actualize yourself differently, do your womanhood dynamically, wondrously, that means you're evolving and developing an iteration of yourself that your friends and family may not know right now. They just may not know that you are coming into, that you want so desperately to build. And Avalaura, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. I heard a weird noise and I wanted to check. So it might come to pass that you need to do some cord cutting, that you need to cut the cord with some people whom you've had in your life for quite a while, for quite a long time. So please, Avalaura, what is that? Share some more wisdom with us about that.
So what was really interesting about cord cuttings is that when I first started this work, I knew that this was powerful, and I, was really interesting about what you said, and even your own journey, is that most of the women who come to me, and I started really looking at this, they come to me on the verge of a breakup.
Yeah.
So they have, it could be a divorce, it could be, a breakup with a, long-term relationship, but they've had some sort of breakup, and that breakup showed them just how much healing they really need. That maybe before they hadn't realized, what was really going on with them, but that relationship mirrored for them and showed them how much work they needed to do. And when I started doing cord cuttings, I thought that it would be with in romantic relationships. So a cord cutting essentially is not just physically ending a relationship, right? A lot of times we'll end a relationship, but then I'll have women, I'm still thinking about the person, I'm still going back and forth, and that's because you might have ended it physically saying it's over, but emotionally, energetically, that person is still a part of you.
Yes.
And so unless you remove that energy from you, they still remain a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that, I would be doing cord cuttings with, women getting a divorce, women ending a relationship, and that has absolutely happened. But what I have found is that most of the cord cuttings that I have done have been from parents, mother, father, sister, brother, uncles, aunties. So our family members, because these are the people who have been with you your entire life, and as you grow and change, you want more for yourself, you want to do better, these tend to be the people energetically who are still kind of holding you down and keeping you stuck where you've been and where they want to keep you, and you're trying to move forward.
That's right. Yeah.
And so a cord cutting isn't even about ending the relationship, I want to say that, but it's about changing the shape of the energy. So even if it's a relationship that you want to maintain, and obviously, and this is one of the reasons, again, that, you know, I do it with so many with family members, because you can't get rid of your mama. You know, you can't end the relationship, you know, with your parents. They are your family. They're always going to be a part of you. And so a cord cutting is, okay, this relationship is still a part of my life, but how can I change the energy that is more conducive to who I'm growing into now and what I need now versus when I was 10, when I was 15, when I was 20?
Yes. And can I just say this? So, Avalaura, you're my new friend, okay? So let's just get that out of the way. Not only are you a fellow bison, but we have some spiritual synergy happening here. So let's just make that clear. We're friends, and I will see you in D.C.
All right.
Beyond that, I want to just echo again what you're saying, and what I'd like to do with my guests is listen intently to your expertise and then echo it in a slight variation so that multiple audiences can hear. One of the really powerful innovations of the Supreme Love Project is we have on our lineup from another teleseminar, it's Hot Health, that was prior to Cold Crush, where we gathered a guest who has expertise in queer communities. So, and we know from our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and those who transgress gender, how toxic some familial relationships have been from the time they were young children through adulthood. And this idea of cord cutting, what you're describing, I can see it as having particular resonance for them. And so what I'm hearing from you and what I know or imagine is that some people listening will say, well, if you're, especially in the beginning of your journey, say, well, I am not a person who's had such a sort of dramatic existence, let's say. If we can say, the members of our brothers and sisters of the LGBTQ community have these dramatic experiences, they may need to do cord cutting. And you might be saying, I don't need to do cord cutting. I love my mama. I love my sisters and brothers, my uncles, and please, no. Well, let's get right over this part of the interview. I would say don't skip. Just hold. Hear us out. Very important, because we're about crushing this cold. And some of the coldness and the iciness, the numbness in our soul, we don't even know about it yet. We don't even know that there are places that are closed off. So just take it from me and Avalaura, women who have gone a few steps ahead of you, and have some serious training, academic training, professional, clinical training, research, and also personal experience. There are parts of your cold, your blocks and blockades around your soul that you don't know about, and you will probably, almost definitely need to cut some cords. And I like what you said so much, Avalaura. It's really about not cutting people off or cutting people out. It's about changing the energy. And I use myself as an example. My mother's probably listening to this right now. My mother is exceptional. She's exceptional. I like her as a person. She's funny and smart and super sweet and loving. She's got the biggest heart of anyone you've ever seen. And she is a devoted mother. She shows up. She is a present mother. I mean, I'm telling you this, and I'm gushing because I want you to get a picture of what I mean. And what I had to, and she's such a good mother, I was actually able to share some of my research with her that actually may have hurt her. And what I mean by that is I had to do some cutting with that glorious woman.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about doing cutting with people who have abused you, who have disrespected you, who have breached boundaries maybe that you hadn't erected yet. But sometimes it's cutting some cords or changing energetic makeup with people who love you very, very well, who love you very, very deeply. But however, they may or may not have the capacity, just from social experience, to go with you into that place where you need to go. So it's not that you have to, I'm not leaving my mother anywhere, okay? I'm not leaving my mama.
Yeah.
I'm keeping her forever. I just needed to change my energetic tie to her in such a way that allowed me to not need her to authenticate me or affirm me for me to move forward in what I needed to do. And see, this is the key. It's not that she would withhold her affirmation. She would never. She wouldn't withhold her affirmation. She wouldn't withhold her approval. She wouldn't withhold any level of support. Yet, our energetic relationship was built in such a way that I felt very deeply tied to my mother's perception of my life choices and her understanding of my life choices. So, for example, I am not currently partnering or parenting. I've delayed partnering and parenting. I'm going to do it later. And my mom did it when she was like 20. And
my parents
for
too.
her, it's super stressful for her to have a daughter who's not married and raising children right now. She loves that I'm successful in lots of other ways, and she's very proud, and she's very happy, and she will tell me that to my face and anyone else. And if, Mommy, if you're listening right now, I'm echoing you because I know that how you feel. I also know that her fear around my decision to delay those things was an impediment for me. My attachment to her, my energetic and emotional attachment to her perception and her values and her priorities were holding me back. They were causing me to make choices. I was so influenced energetically by that attachment, by that to her perceptions and to her standards, to her judgments and to her ideals, that I wasn't allowing myself to create my own, to develop myself uniquely as a whole person, organically generated by myself, not because of what someone else prescribed. Avalaura, are you getting where I'm going with this?
I wholeheartedly agree, affirm, validate. That is huge. And you know, I work with so many individuals who have been abused, who have been molested, who have experienced domestic violence, who have been raised in very angry or toxic households. But on the flip side, equally, I work with a lot of individuals who haven't been abused, who haven't been raised in those households, who, you know, like me, grew up in, you know, middle-class households with loving parents, with two parents who loved them, who adored them, who sacrificed for them, who did everything to take care of them, everything in their power. But even with that, you still have to shed that, and you have to grow your own wings. And this is simply a part of human nature, that we have to go out on our own and find our own path.
That's right.
And sometimes it's harder to do that when you do come from that loving household, that loving space, because you don't want to disappoint the people who love you so much, who have sacrificed so much for you.
Yes. It's true.
And I know for me, that was even a part of my own walk, my own therapy, you know, my own counseling, my own life coaching. And yes, I have done it all. I practice what I preach. But I couldn't see problems with my parents. I love my parents. My parents are they're amazing.
Me too.
Anybody who meets my parents loves my parents. They adopt everybody. They take care of everybody. Yep. They are wonderful human beings. They truly are. Yep.
Absolutely.
And because of that, my script for them was, my parents loved me, my parents took care of me, my parents sacrificed everything for me, they are wonderful, they are great. I couldn't see any problems with them. I had blinders to some of the dysfunction that did happen, just natural human beings, because we all have dysfunction. I couldn't even see that, because all I could see was the good, and the not seeing the bad was what was wounding me, because that was keeping me stuck and tied to them when I really needed to fly and you know, develop my own wings and come a butterfly and metamorphosize into something in my own being away from them.
Oh, wow. Sheesh. Avalaura, same. And I appreciate this caveat in our interview, because so many of our interviews do focus on levels of dysfunction that are more pronounced, that are more dramatic, more exaggerated, that are bigger. And our levels of dysfunction, or other levels of dysfunction, some people's levels of dysfunction, are much more minute. they are smaller. They are more delicate. They're more sort of subtle. And yet they do have consequences. They do have consequences. If you did not grow up in a house with a father who was a drunk alcoholic who used to hit you, and you grew up in a house with a father like mine or yours who came home from work every night and sat and had dinner with his family and took you out to a ball game and ice cream after and tucked you in at night, that doesn't mean that you still didn't have to negotiate a level of dysfunction that may have functioned as an undercurrent and not as, you know, a sort of blast in history. For example, my father was depressed. He was depressed. He dealt with a lot of relational and social terrors in his own skin as a black man, as a very proud, strong, strapping black man. He endured things that I won't know, that he didn't tell me, but that I could feel in his energy, that I could see in his sadness. And I inherited that. There's something in epigenetics called intergenerational inheritance. In the Christian faith, they call it generational curses. The scriptures say the curse causeless does not come. And we understand that in the Supreme Love Project because we understand how relational and social terrors have a thread throughout consciousness. The collective consciousness, familial consciousness, whatever we build with one another organically, with flesh and blood, and also with language, with words, even with ideas and with energy. And all of this comes to bear on this idea of cord cutting, something that Avalaura is an expert in, and that we can come to understand better. And I encourage anyone in the Supreme Love Project and any of the guests who are from Avalaura's tribe, who maybe haven't tried that yet, think it over. If you are in a space where you have tried a lot of things, and you're at an impasse or a block, and you cannot reach that last part of that coldness, that iciness, to bridge to new intimacy with yourself and with other people, think about this particular method. That's why I wanted to talk about it explicitly.
Awesome. Yeah. No, it's huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. And what happens is, you know, and it all works so in harmony together. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it. And so someone may come to me for a cord cutting, and then they're getting Reiki, and then they say, you know what, I need life coaching, and, you know, let's do this, and let's do that. And so it really is a very holistic process. And for so many of us, you know, our relationships are just a huge part of who we are. We all need love. We all need validation. We all need intimacy. We all need to feel a part of something. So our relationships are a huge defining part of who we are. And when your relationships are not feeding you, they're not nurturing you, they're not giving you what it is that you need, we suffer.
We do.
And so it is so important to find ways to honor those relationships and nurture them and get what you need. And if you're not getting what you need, then releasing that energy, letting it go, and replacing it with something that's going to feed you.
That's right. That's right. That's the goal. That's the key. Oh, Laura, I could talk to you for another hour. We are really out of time, though, but I'm going to invite you to the Supreme Love Project closed Facebook group for all of our sisters all over the world who are tuned in right now. If you have additional questions from your Avalaura at the end of this call, please hop over to the Supreme Love Project closed Facebook group. There's a quiet, private space where you can ask any question you want and get answers in real time from us. You can email support@JanineStaples.com or the team at thesupremeloveproject.com to get that link, or just find us on Facebook. But before we close, Avalaura, I want to give you the opportunity to leave us with some parting gifts. And those parting gifts are 3 ideas, questions, words, techniques that we can nutshell and present to our sisters, or you can nutshell and present to our sisters now, so that they can walk away from this call thinking about something to do immediately to crush the cold in their soul, to heal the terrors in their soul, launch a revolution in their life. Consider 3 things. And when you're ready, go ahead and share with us.
That's so funny. We've talked about so many.
We have. And so it might just be a summary, sure.
You know, we talked about so many things, and I honestly feel like, ladies, this is something that you're going to want to listen back to more than once.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to listen to it, you know, the first time, just listening. And then I think you're going to want to listen again and then take notes. But that first time, I think you just want to sit with it and process it. Don't take any notes. Don't write anything down. Just be present. And so I'm just going to even offer that as one thing, because we have talked about we've we've talked about a lot. We've covered so many different bases. So I think that's extremely important. You know, the other thing that I will leave you with, or the second thing is, you know, is one of my common sayings that I say in a lot of my talks and speeches and workshops, is that self-care is the best healthcare. Self-care is the best healthcare, and everything that we've been talking about is self-care.
Yeah.
You know, we have this sort of linear view of it in terms of, well, yeah, it's meditation, it's going to the spa, it's getting your nails done, it's getting your hair done, and it is all of that. But self-care in its true essence, or soulful self-care, as I talk about it, is getting to know who you are and tapping into that person and living and honoring that truth. That is the ultimate self-care.
That's right.
So self-care is the best healthcare. You take care of yourself in that space. So many of the problems, so many of the things that are going on in your life, I'm not saying that they're not going to happen. They will. But the way that you respond to it will be so different, because you will be coming from it from a very healthy point of view, and you will just be able to understand it, see it for what it is, embrace it, and move forward. So self-care is the best healthcare. And then the other thing that I'm going to leave you with is what we talked about, too, is that it takes a village to raise a dream.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise a dream. Who is in your village?
Village. That's it.
Do you have a village? Because if you don't, I can promise you, you're not going to get where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
You're not. And so if you're recognizing you have holes in that village, it's time to fill them.
Yeah.
Who is in your village? And so start to look around, because there might be people in your village that don't need to be there, and there are people who maybe on the outskirts that you have not been able to embrace, that you haven't made time or space for, that you need to.
That's right.
And there are people that you may not have found yet that you simply need to say, I need more of this. I need more intimacy. I need more love. I need more direction. Whatever that is, whatever that looks like, you know, honoring that, writing that down, and starting to attract that into your space.
Yep. And that's one of the things. Thank you so much. All of it is jewel, like they're jewels. And that's something I want to talk about in the closed Facebook group. And if anyone listening to this wants to talk more about that, about the tribe and about the cord cutting, post that question to me and Avalaura in the closed Facebook group so that we can go into that. Because here's one thing that I'll say in closing after that wonderful list. A few of the members of my tribe that I needed to cut cords with, that I needed to cut ties with, energetic ties, created for me the biggest shock, one of the biggest shocks of my life. If you had told me that two of my closest and dearest friends were the two people who were not going to go with me into the new frontier of who I am, I would have told you that you were nuts. I would have told you that you didn't even know me. And yet, I found myself needing to do some cord cutting with two people that I had developed the closest platonic friendship. I mean, these were my homegirls, like my real roadies, my ride or die people, but I didn't realize how toxic, but I didn't realize how toxic our connection was. I didn't. Until I started to do some healing, I didn't realize it. And it broke my heart to cut those cords. It broke my heart. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I can see so clearly the necessity of it. And I can thank God so sincerely for the place that they had in my journey and for the conclusion so that I can move forward. I want what I have now and what's coming next more than I want what I had before. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, thank you, Avalaura.
Thank you.
You have been wonderful. I appreciate you so much, more than I can say. Everyone, please remember this. Take this message to heart. Build it into your body. We will see you in the closed Facebook group. And thank you for tuning in to the Supreme Love Project. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participating in the Supreme Love Project. We're a division of Literacy for Life, LLC. Please visit thesupremeloveproject.com for more information about our products and services. Visit JanineStaples.com for more information about our beloved founder and president. And remember, take this message to heart and build it into your body. We'll see you next time, right here. The place to make love, not war, every day of your life.